The thunderstorm pattern continues in British Columbia. The heat returns this weekend, but it won't last for long. And when it leaves with a bang, because that's what always happens, right? And the fire potential does come back for certain parts of British Columbia. This is bad news.
This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
Wow. I'll watch the video later.
Feel the heat. I need more knives. I need water.
Ain't dry mopping this.
Well, here I am once again on Faithful Windy. And let's have a look at where the heat is this week in British Columbia. There's a weird temperature anomaly you're going to start noticing right away that's building up in Alaska and into the Yukon as well. Of course, there's this extreme heat going on down in the United States. 40 C, what? Okay, so that's the kind of thing that's going on in Texas and New Mexico. But even so, 23 degrees up there, British Columbia, not seeing that benefit. And as we come overnight, you see into the mountains still, there's cold blobs of air sitting there. It's cold at the high levels. Half the continent, extremely hot. That's including Ontario, Quebec, into the maritime provinces as well. Extremely hot. If you just go look down in Ohio, 34 C there. So very hot by noon already. And climbing through the day there. Crazy heat building up in the United States in the 40-degree territory, right? So anyone who's saying like, whoa, where's climate change? It's not hot here. You know, it's just like, what's the difference between that and saying the Edmonton Oilers aren't won 3 games in a row to start the series? Well, no, that didn't happen. Okay, so maybe where you are, the weather hasn't been nice, and that's really what's been going on here for us in British Columbia, for sure. By the way, I'm Joey, only the Caribbean Weather Dude. Hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. I'm trying to grow this channel, and it has kept growing and growing and growing. There we go, Wednesday, early in the morning, that heat now coming into Ontario. Yeah, so like already by noon, extremely hot there, extremely hot. And you know how it is when it's hot there, it's also humid. So BC, not still very warm Wednesday, but if you go look up in the Northwest Territories, you're still looking at 26 Celsius up there at times. So that's a clue as to where we are going to see fire weather, because there's going to be thunderstorm activity in British Columbia and in the Yukon and in the Northwest Territories, and most especially in the far north, right? Some of these days, we're going to look at thunderstorms here in a few minutes. Some of these days have very active thunderstorm activity expected up there in the heat. So this is what's going on up there, is you're going to have new fire starts. We'll look at the drought situation as well as we get going, right? So lots of things we're going to look at here today. Try to get through it as best we can. Up to 28 degrees on Thursday. So there you go. You're looking at places in that Northwest Territory corner where it's going to be very, very warm. And, we might see moments of it into the interior. It's going to start looking nicer and nicer this week, but we're going to see that there's going to be thunderstorms still coming every day, and it's going to keep things cool. It's going to keep things rainier, keep more clouds in the sky. So we're not being blessed like we'd like to. So as you can see, these isobars, these are not pressure isobars, these are temperature isobars. So they give us kind of a look at, 17 through the prairies, 21 on Friday, getting warmer into BC. So then you see 26 into the central interior BC. So we're going to start seeing some warmer temperatures. Of course, we're looking at high 40s down in Mexico. So weather you can't survive in. And blobs of that are going to try to travel up into BC, but they're not going to last very long. There's this big off the coast here. There's a storm here, and we're going to see that when we come look at different graph here in a minute. And it's gonna have a hard time getting in at first, but then when it busts through, and it'll probably come through on Sunday, sometime like that. And if the timing's right, it's going to come through with a lot of lightning and thunder. So much of the continent, very, very hot. BC finally getting a bit of a turn on Saturday when we can see 28-degree temperatures and things like that through the afternoon. So we're looking forward to some of that through the central interior. Probably someone's going to hit 30, I'm sure. But it won't last too long, because this low is going to move in and it's going to create our stormy conditions. So we will leave this graphic here in a second. But there you go. This is the story, more or less. The temperature is very hot in a lot of the country. Yeah, even by next weekend, 26 through northern Manitoba, northern Ontario, northern Sask, northern Alberta, and that continues up into Northwest Territories. So days of heat up there, lots of heat. This whole region up here, exceedingly dry, exceedingly dry. So BC's taken a lot of rain up through the Peace and whatnot. It's benefited. We're finally seeing a little bit of improvement there. But as you're going to see as we go forward through the week, Fort St. John, our Fort Nelson area is going to start to dry out, because this warmth is going to be up there on their side of the mountains first. And going to stay there longer. Already by the weekend, though, if we get into some of that warm weather, this is how much rain we still require in BC. That it only takes a few warm days for a fluctuation of drought conditions to start creeping up into southern BC. We see our soil moisture anomaly this weekend. If we go down to 100 centimeters deep, you see still, even though we've had a lot of rain, a lot of the areas around Prince George, Vanderhoof, down through the West Caribou, down into Williams Lake and Kamloops and whatnot, still very, very dry. And you go to the other side of the Rockies, very, very dry, especially in these areas. We're going to see a lot of that thunderstorm activity this week. And as you can imagine, the fire danger is very high in all those places that are seeing all that very, very warm temperature in the United States. But in terms of Canada, starting to see a little bit of that turning up into Quebec, a little bit of that in Northern Ontario for sure. Kind of cools off into the prairies for the most part at current, and then we see it still pretty high up in the Northwest Territories. And as we go through the week and we look at where that fire danger is probably going to be, the Northwest Territories really seems to be in trouble. The Caribou this week could, with all the thunderstorm activity, could have some things skunking around out there when things dry out. And then plus we have that possibility of strong thunderstorm behavior on Sunday, fire behavior potential. We come into next weekend really looking like that northern part of BC, that northeast corner again, seeming to be a bit of a danger spot, something to look forward to. And then we do have a creeping up into the central interior, but especially through Caribou, Prince George, and creeping up of fire conditions through the week. So by this weekend, we're going to see fuel moisture that probably is pretty dry through all that central stretch of BC in between the mountain ranges, and then up in the Peace as well. Thunderstorms on Sunday should change the picture a little bit, so it should bring things back down. So a little bit of fire danger for central interior BC for sure, especially with all the lightning, could help. But the real big deal is up in Northwest Territories, most specifically. And we go through the week and we just see this sort of consistent continuation, more or less, of what's been going on here for a few more days. So the possibility of snow up in the high mountains, like maybe up there in Icefields Parkway, places like that, especially could see that Monday. And then we get, again, thunderstorms popping up. Southern BC may see them first early in the day, but then maybe same sort of behavior we've been seeing through Caribou. Just odd convective squalls and cells that don't seem to last very long. But up in the Yukon, lots of thunderstorms going on this week up there. Low through Manitoba Tuesday morning should be pretty interesting. Into Northern Ontario, that should be pretty interesting. And we will see Ontario go through a couple rounds of pretty strong thunderstorms, I think, this week. Tuesday, not much different again. We have lots of this low pressure sitting out there, just trying to come into the Gulf of Alaska. And at some point here, this high pressure bulge is going to relent and let it in. But thunderstorm activity again Tuesday, quite possible, especially through western sections of BC. It seems most likely there. And we go to Wednesday, continuation more or less of the pattern. But now I see that high getting squeezed more and more, and it's going to start getting focused out. But here's where our heat starts to build in, more or less coming into, maybe Thursday, but Friday, Saturday for sure, right? And then again, according to the timing, we'll see what Sunday delivers for us for thunderstorms. Thursday again in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, up to the Northern Rockies, maybe a little bit in southern British Columbia. Again, none of these storms seemingly very serious, but just kind of misery that just sort of continues. So here the low is finally getting its act together, and it's going to take its time coming in. It's going to take its time, and it's going to give us a few days, and it may even help pull some of that warm air into BC. It's going to give us a few days of chance to enjoy the nice weather before it does finally slam in. So it's just getting kind of blocked out of there for a little bit. You'll see all day Friday, prairies, thunderstorms. Lots of thunderstorms. That's that time of year right now where they're really happening, right? So this guy's taking his time, coming into the coast, waving out there. Haida, I'm sure everybody there is going to be seeing misery while we're seeing really warm weather this weekend. So it looks like they're going to take a bit of a direct blow from that for quite a while, and it's going to stall over them. So I expect a fair bit of precipitation into Haida, if that system does play out that way. But, it takes its time and gives us Saturday still too, I think, before finally it starts to work its way in on Sunday. And, and this is a ways out, so now we're looking a week out. But it could be that on Sunday it gives us a good shot of thunderstorms when it does finally erupt. You know, that's maybe our potential across the board. Ontario really getting it good that day, but could see some strong thunderstorms on next week Sunday. So this pattern continues. We get a bit of a break with some warmer weather. I, for one, do look forward to having a couple 20-degree days. That would be extremely nice. Uh, there's not been much of that for us lately. There's not been much of that at all. Anyways, hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and keep your eye on the weather this week and get some photos. We've had funnel clouds and things like that in BC going on. You know, things have been weird lately, so you just never know if you're a weather watcher what you're going to see. So keep your eyes to the sky as always if you can. All right, we'll see you next time, my friends. Bye.